egotistical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL Network.
Yes, that is right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the SNL Network's Hot Take Show. We are here, season 47, episode 1. I am so pumped to be here. We are live right now on YouTube and on Twitter, so I hope you are catching us live and joining us in the chat. We want to get all of your thoughts on this premiere with Owen Wilson and Kacey Musgraves. It's so much fun to talk about premieres. We've had so many months we've been waiting for this, and I'm curious to hear all of your thoughts. We have 3 amazing panelists with us as well. So I will go right to them so we can get to all of the hot takes. Andrew Haskell is here with us. Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing good. No more rumors, no more predictions, no more cast stuff. We get to actually talk about some actual sketches tonight. Super excited.
Yeah, look, you guys in the chat. I mean, I know there's a lot of SNL podcasts out there. We put out a lot of coverage. It's so much easier to talk about a show that is actually aired than one that has not aired yet. So this will be a lot of fun to do. Please post your comments in the chat. We're going to bring a bunch of those up throughout the show. Joining us for the first time, and will be joining us throughout the season. I'm so excited to introduce these two to the show. Introducing Morgan. Morgan, how are you?
Hi, guys. How are you? I'm coming to you guys live from Chicago. I'm very excited to be here and share some fun opinions about season 47.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to hear all of your thoughts, Morgan. I know you are a huge fan, so we are going to get right to them. Also joining us is the man. I'm so happy to have this guy on the show. It's Anthony Conway. Anthony, how are you?
I'm good, John. Can't complain at all, man. How are you?
I'm great. So, Morgan, how many, scale of 1 to 10, how big of a fan of SNL are you? Just so I know, and you can tell the audience.
10.
10? Okay, same for you, Anthony. I just want to make sure. I got to vet the new people on the show.
For sure. I'd say solid 8. Solid 8.
Okay, for sure. But you know what? We're going to make you even bigger fan because we're going to get through all the sketches and talk through everything that we loved and maybe didn't tonight. So let's set the table. Let's talk through this whole thing that happened tonight because, premieres are not always the strongest, but there was a storyline that I think was the main storyline tonight. And then I'm going to ask all 3 of you if you agree or if you think something else was this. But if you would have asked me 3 days ago, you said 3 new cast members, which one is going to run the show tonight? Nobody would have told me James Austin Johnson is going to run the show tonight. That was incredible that this cast member came in and did that. Haskell, is that your headline for the night as well?
Yeah, I think set a tone super early, kind of turned some heads right there at the beginning as he comes out to play Biden. Probably the right choice to play Biden. Right off the bat, I was maybe 15, 30 seconds in. I went, this is the best technical impression that we've had of Biden on SNL ever. And now we just need to build off of that. But yeah, that's the storyline of tonight.
Yeah, that is an interesting call. I know people in the chat are asking me why I'm dressed up. It's premiere night. So I figured we'd do that. Morgan, was that your headline of the night? Or are you going to give us another headline for the night?
No, yeah, I thought all the newcomers got a lot of stage time tonight, and they all really showed themselves up in a really good way. And I think James really killed it. And that was his first sketch. And it was the first one of the night. And he had a lot of momentum going in, I guess, from Alex Moffat, who just played Biden, and same with Carrie. So I think that he really took it on well and killed it. So
yeah. Okay. Well, Anthony, yeah, sorry, Morgan. I just want to make sure you got all your thoughts out about that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Anthony, what about you? What did you think about this? And was this your highlight?
This is my highlight 1,000%. Going into the premiere, you're expecting something really awesome to happen off the jump. And James Austin Johnson, kicking things off as the new Biden. That's huge. And like Haskell said, I 1,000% agree. Watching Carrie's impression of it, it's fun, right? Carrie's he's fully in control of his entire body, his voice, everything. But technically, this was the best one that I've seen. And like you said, Haskell, it's as we continue to pull things from the headlines and you find more opportunities to play with him and put him in an opportunity with more people to do sketches with, I think the sky's the limit. I think this is kind of a moment start making opportunity for Duke.
I mean, guys, this is a crazy story for SNL to make this decision. And maybe it was the obvious one. Maybe it was the one, and chat, tell me if you agree. Maybe it was the one that we should have known all along because we got to see Alex play Biden once last year, and we went episode after episode waiting for it to come back, and it never did. Maybe we should have known this was going to happen all along, but I am just stunned that they gave the president of the United States, the current president, to somebody on their first episode. That is something that, as far as we've looked up, has never happened in the history of the show, where someone has actually taken the presidential impression from another current cast member. That's never happened before. The only two times that anyone in their first episode has done that in the history of the show was Joe Piscopo in season 6 and Randy Quaid in season 11. So we're talking about going back a very, very long time. Haskell, how important is this for James as a new player on the show to make his mark like right away?
Yeah, I think sometimes, like as fans, we look at trends on SNL and we think we live inside Lauren's head. So we all got to the point these last few years, right, wrong, or indifferent, where we said like Lauren just wants cameos and stars to play these roles. But I think maybe now this sent a message saying that he just needed the right person for these roles. And I think moving forward, we do have the right person for these roles, because we saw, a few more impressions later on that kind of is a good thing to see, hopefully moving forward. And I think it's a great message for it. Really, really inspired me because I was very frustrated coming to this season. I thought, Lauren was just punting to season 50. And I said, he's not interested in starting a new era. He just wants this cast to bring him to 50 so that he can kind of have that one last celebration. And to open the show, to hand Biden off like that, really changed my mind really quickly that, nope, Lauren's also interested in kind of setting up the new era for the show that's going to probably outlast him.
That's really interesting. I didn't know what to expect, but I'm pleasantly surprised at some of the things we did get to see. I know that premieres are never the best episodes of the season. We have to wait till they kind of get on a roll with things like that in terms of the actual quality of the show. But I do think that there is a lot to mine here in terms of what we saw tonight. Before we go sketch by sketch and do the recap, another storyline that I just feel like I have to bring up that was a highlight for me tonight was that Weekend Update did the right thing. We saw a Norm Macdonald tribute in Weekend Update tonight. That was super important to me and for anybody who's watched the history of the show. I wasn't sure if we were going to get it, but we did. Morgan, what did you think of this when you saw the tribute to Norm?
Yeah, usually they just do like the image and like show some photos of them, but I really liked how they like selected certain clips of him on Weekend Update, some of his like funnier punches. So I thought that was like really nice that they did that, and that Che and Colin like introduced it. So that was nice.
Yeah, Anthony, I mean, I know that like I'd have to go back to probably the Jan Hooks tribute that we had a few years ago, where we had Bill Hader and it was Kristen Wiig, I believe, came in to do the Jan Hooks tribute. But that was really special to see something like this, and I was just hoping that we got something that was special, and I really feel like they did that. I was happy to see that.
Definitely agree. There was definitely like the moment when like Che and Joe's kind of set it up where you think like another joke's about to happen. And I like that, it's like a very serious note. It was like, hey, all jokes aside, we're actually going to a very serious tribute to the guy that, really set them up to be able to do some of the edgier stuff that they've been able to do over the past couple of years. And that's how you do it. It's like you set it up in a very straightforward way. We're going to be honest. We're going to be, level. And that was exactly how that should have gone.
Yeah, I agree. Haskell, anything you want to say on that before we get to going through the sketches?
Just to echo what we're seeing in some of the comments, it was rightfully so that they did throw in one OJ joke and close it on that. That was the right thing to do too, regardless of how NBC did feel about it then or feels about it now. That was the right choice.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go through the sketches. Let's talk through them. We're going to be live for probably another 40 minutes. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go sketch by sketch. I'm going to say what the sketch is about, and we're going to talk through them. And then you guys in the comments, I want you to tell me what you think of each sketch. We'll bring up your thoughts as well. So we spoke a little bit about the James Austin Johnson cold open that we got to see him as Biden. Morgan, what did you think about this open that we got, where we got to see them making fun of Democrats, which is something that I know SNL's probably struggled with for the last few years to figure out how to get a take on the Democrats. And here they decided to go after them in the cold open.
Yeah. Well, first off, I think that James killed it, like we talked about. And I think he nailed Biden's voice perfectly. And that's always hard, I feel like, with Biden. The voice is everything, and his motions, which is really good. He killed that. But I liked I liked the AOC part when they were kind of tying in the Met Gala and like taxing the rich. It's just kind of punny in a way. But I liked how they brought on a lot of the cast members to be different Democrats and up in there. So I thought that they were really inclusive there. And I like when they like bring on a lot of people in one sketch because it just like they all have fun together when they're like all acting together. So it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody was like, hey, Melissa is for sure going to do Owen Wilson in the premiere, but she slayed this with AOC. I think so, right, Anthony?
1000% agree. And, you know, I think going in like, you know, the past couple of weeks where it's been like a will they or won't they for the cast that's going to be returning, it's really awesome to see, you know, Melissa Villaseñor. Obviously, she wasn't like one of the ones, but, you know, then seeing A.D. Bryant show up and like, you know, doing her thing. And it's like, oh, like, I'm so happy that you're back, A, but B, like, you kill every single sketch at your end. You do the job. You have every, like, the intonation. Everything's just perfect. Nah, it was nice. It was like you get this brand new feature player up there doing his thing. He's crushing it. And then you have the supporting cast all playing their beats and playing their parts perfectly on top of it. It's a really strong and bold way for the show to kick off, and I loved it.
For sure. And, you know, our friend Alec in the chat, he says this is a great comment. He said the cold open was promising in his opinion because it mostly acted out as a scene with a consistent premise and not just listing off things about a current event, which is something that happened a lot in the Trump era. I think it's a great call, Alec, as well.
Great.
Haskell, what were your thoughts on the cold open overall to see us open up season 47 with all the different Democrats there?
Yeah, this is one of my least favorite types of cold opens. And unfortunately for me, it was too much of a callback to the Trump era where everyone's just standing in a straight line. There's no sort of blocking or stage movement. We're just going to go down the line, close up on everybody. You're going to say your lines, these probably jokes that were worked on up until this morning. And then the next person will just go in line. It just feels like no interaction between these characters. Like I said, there's no movement. So for me, when there's no sort of actually playing off each other, sometimes the jokes just become just lost in it all. So for me, I think overall for the episode, I'm going to respond better than most people. But for the cold open, I think I'm going to go reverse. And outside of Biden, nothing really hit for me.
Okay. I mean, I thought that Pete really hit for me in the cold open. I don't know. I just like I said, I really love the stuff that we got from Pete last season, and I liked seeing him again here. Anybody on that, or should we head off to the monologue? Okay, let's do it. So let's talk about Owen Wilson's monologue. So, you know, really interesting choice to have Owen Wilson host the premiere. We're going to talk a lot more about that on Monday in our roundtable, what went into choosing Owen Wilson for the premiere. But he came out. He had some family there as well. Haskell, thoughts on the monologue that we got to see tonight? And chat, let us know what you thought as well.
Owen Wilson's just a delight. Like, he is just has this likability about him. And that's just all that monologue was. It was just like a likability to get things started, and it was a great, to me, somebody who didn't enjoy the cold open, jumping into that monologue was a great way to kind of course correct and kind of kick the night off right.
Yeah, well, the interesting is I had a conversation with Mike Murray, who does a lot of statistics for us, and he was saying that that Owen Wilson's probably going to have a low score in terms of like screen time and stuff that some other hosts will get. And I think that what we saw, guys, tonight is that Owen Wilson was an agreeable choice. He was like the golden retriever that he was talking about, which was that everybody like loves Owen. He's a great person to put in sketches, but I don't know that we got like anything extra special from him that we couldn't have got from anybody else. Morgan, are you with me on that?
I agree 100% on that. I love Owen because like he's just like very authentic and comes off like super honest and like himself. Like he's not even trying to be funny and not even acting. So like I just like love that about him, and he seemed like very comfortable and like he's done it before, and it was kind of like settling maybe for the audience because it's the first one. So like it was good. Yeah, I agree though that like there was nothing like super stand out ish, but like he did great. For
sure. Anthony, what were your thoughts on Owen Wilson overall and him in the monologue?
The same. You know, he's super affable. He's super fun. For a first episode, it feels warm. It almost feels like, you know, you're being guided through this whole thing by a friend, which is always nice. I thought that he hit all of the beats. You know, he did exactly what you expect with it. It was really great seeing the shout out to his family sitting out in the audience. That was fun. Really loved the Daniel Day-Lewis line. I thought that was hilarious. So yeah, it's a nice, easy way to like, you know, come back into a season that I think Haskell even, like, mentioned earlier, it's like, we were kind of unsure and uneasy going in. And it's like, it's nice having something that feels very familiar to kind of like dive in with.
Yeah, I love that we got to see Luke Wilson. I know I see that in the chat as well. Luke Wilson, a former host of SNL back in the day, when you would think that Owen Wilson would have hosted SNL back in the day. But look, if you were going to produce Saturday Night Live and you were planning out your season and you had all these options for different hosts, starting with someone like Owen totally makes sense as the cast is getting back into it. So I think like as a community, like we can feel pretty good about Owen as a host. Let's talk about some of the sketches that we got to see tonight, though. And we started off with this women's talk show known as The Talking. And this was a clear take on what happened on The View, I believe it was last week, where people were pulled off the set for testing positive for COVID. So we knew this had to come into play on SNL. What did everybody in the chat think about women's talk show? Haskell, let me have you start off this conversation.
Yeah, I was really happy. Last year, they did this kind of reverse where like the early sketch was like the slice of life sketch, and then they do something topical later. I like that they opened with the topical this time. It was a little formulaic, and you guys are going to hear me say formulaic a lot tonight, but it was a little formulaic and expecting where it's going to ramp up. I thought, again, like Owen Wilson really shines, though, as like a guy who's not taking the spotlight, but just kind of sprinkling in, jumping back into the sketch enough times where it worked, and then they got through their premise, and it didn't. That sketch works for me because then it didn't drag out. It kind of stopped right where it was supposed to stop.
The weird thing for me is like, I know that SNL has a history of doing sketches about The View. And maybe like they just didn't want to continue like for the third different cast, do a View sketch and have people like play the hosts for them. I just thought it was an interesting choice that they went in the direction of, as somebody in the chat says, a fictional View instead of actually doing The View. Anthony, can I start with you on this one? What was your thought about that as somebody who works on a talk show?
No, for sure. That was kind of the first thing I started thinking of, right? It's like, why aren't like, we seeing like, the people that we see on The View every single day? Thought that was an odd choice not to do it. But at the same point too, it's like, it was a very quick sketch. And it's like, if you dedicate all of that time to like, setting up all of these characters before doing that, it might detract from it. But that aside, I did feel like it was a little formulaic, a little like, paint by the numbers. I thought Aidy Bryant was great. I loved her delivery on the my husband is well endowed joke repeatedly throughout. Aidy Bryant, she crushed it. I think that she really showed up and was like, yeah, like I'm back for another season. And like, there's a reason why I'm back here and why I do what I do. But for that sketch, aside from that, I didn't get a lot from it that, is going to be repeatable, something I'm going to be quoting, something I'm going to be looking for clips from, any of that. So yeah.
Morgan, how was this for you?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what you guys are saying. Like, I feel like we've seen one like this before, kind of, and like Heidi playing like a similar role, kind of to like the host. I guess like the only added part was like the COVID part and them getting taken off the stage by Owen, which was like the funny part, I think. But the other part was, I feel like it was just kind of like fluff, and I mean, yeah.
Well, what was interesting to me was that this was totally a sketch that you would have seen Kate McKinnon in if she was there tonight, but I guess that she wasn't. So it was like our first like, oh, okay, so we will actually maybe not have all 21 cast members there every single week, which I was saying like, hey, it's maybe an underreported story that a lot of them will be there, but I guess this was, we didn't have her tonight, so we got to see some of those roles go to some other people. Then we got our pre-tape, and Haskell, am I wrong? Is this the only pre-tape that we got tonight? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, pretty sure. Which is very different, change of pace, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'd have to go back. I don't know when the last time that we only had one pre-tape in the entire show, which was really weird because we know that like even some of the new writers that were hired were brought in to do pre-tapes as well. So I know that there was more on the dress rundown. I know that my expectation is tomorrow we're going to get some of those online as well. But let's talk about this Billionaire Star Trek pre-tape where we had Jeff Bezos versus Richard Branson, and then we had former host Elon Musk played by Mikey Day. So let me start in reverse order. Let me start, Morgan, what did you think of this one?
I thought it was really creative, and I thought that it was funny that they were saying that this was like Bezos's like midlife crisis. Like, flying his ship through the sky against Elon Musk. I thought that they played the characters really good, and I liked the like supporting crew on the ship. Like I thought that they were all like kind of random characters that kind of brought it all together. But I thought it was really creative and fun to watch. I love when they do the pre-tapes.
Yeah, Anthony, what did you think of this one? I also, before you get to that, our friend Mike in the chat says Daniel Kaluuya's episode last year also had one pre-tape. So yeah, good to know, Mike. Thanks. Anthony, go ahead.
For sure. I like the pre-tape a lot. I like whenever we get to hear Moffat do some voice acting. I mean, not voice acting, some dialect stuff. Similarly, love seeing Mikey Day do that as well. So yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Again, we got to see Luke again pop up in it, which is always great. So yeah, it was a really, really fun short. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I believe there was a pre-tape. It was called Splitting the Check, and that one was cut for time. So that was supposed to be post-update as well. So we would have gotten a second one. It didn't end up airing due to something going long. We'll obviously find out what that is and tell you guys on the roundtable. Haskell, what'd you think of this pre-tape? I thought it was pretty good.
I really enjoyed it, and it did something that I wish SNL was more apt to do early in seasons, which is say, listen, we know this happened over the summer, but it's still crazy enough that we're going to do a sketch about it, okay? Like, it is, like, kind of old news, but they were able to add their own spin on it, and it was fun. Immediately, I was thinking, Jon Stewart did a whole sketch for a promo for his new show that kind of played off of this. So I was hoping it wasn't going to travel too close to that, which it didn't. And it was really fun. My only critique is I wish it showed just a little bit more teeth. I think it could have been a little bit sharper, especially on Bezos. They get to it a little bit at the end with the bottle for his employee to pee in or whatever. But it could have been a little sharper, but it was still a really enjoyable sketch.
Well, what was fascinating to me is that you had Mikey Day playing Elon Musk, obviously Elon Musk, the controversial host from last season. And I was like, oh, okay, well, like, what are they going to do with him? Are they going to rip him? Like, how are they going to, do this? And then we see later on in another sketch after update, in the funeral song sketch, they have a bunch of former hosts that they are ripping there. So I was like, okay, so you're going to do it here, but not there. And I thought it was an interesting choice of them. But it seems like overall the chat was a little bit lukewarm on this one. But the next sketch that we get is Cars 4, and I don't know about any longtime SNL fans, but I saw this set and my mind immediately went to Blizzard Man when I saw the recording studio as well. But I loved this Cars 4 sketch. I was like, okay, this is the point in the night where I really felt like SNL really kicked into high gear, and this was like, okay, now we have something. This is the type of stuff I want to see. Haskell, do you agree with that?
Yeah, so again, formulaic, right? We've seen this sketch.
Give me another adjective.
Different ways, but it's one of my favorite things that SNL can do because I know the beats, and immediately I was thinking J.J. Watt doing this with Madden. But I love when I can know what the beats are going to be in SNL, and it still makes me laugh. And I love the story that they decided to tell with this fake dialogue and stuff. And some of the kind of shots that they put in there in his dialogue were the biggest laughs of the night for me.
Yeah, they went like to some dark places with this. Morgan, what did you think of Cars 4?
Yeah, you could just tell that like the audience was like loving this also, and like they were really into it and laughing a lot, which I think like made Owen like get more into it also because the audience was like hyping him up. But I thought that it was funny and creative, and I think that they needed to like do some kind of car sketch because that's like his movie. So like it was funny and it was creative. I liked it.
Yeah, I think, Anthony, you know why I think this worked for me so well? I think it was just because, like, we've established up until this point in the night that Owen Wilson is just such a nice guy. And then you're, like, taking this nice guy, and I know he's, like, he's playing himself in the sketch, but he's playing himself as somebody who's reading, like, the most ridiculous lines that Owen Wilson would never say. And that's what I felt like was the brilliance of Cars 4.
1000%. Like we said, like, I feel like throughout the entire show, we kind of got the golden retriever, Owen Wilson, the not quite the aw shucks, but like the sad bearer of bad news type guy that like keeps popping up into every single thing throughout. It was great. And again, we have to call out James Austin Johnson coming in and crushing that entire thing out of nowhere. Like, for him to get like, these not quite back to back, but like, like repeated, like, early in the show, popping and doing his thing, it's fantastic to watch. He crushed it. And Haskell, you want to talk about something with some teeth, like you said, John, like they really kind of went for it and they went to some real dark places. It was fun. That was the moment in the show that I'm like, okay, like let's buckle up. This could get really interesting. This could get fun. Yeah, that was definitely the sketch of the night that had me perked up.
I think the thing that I have the biggest question about is like, yeah, you said it completely. Like when we see James Austin Johnson come out for this, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, what did he do so well that made them trust him so much for their first show? Because if he messes this up, I mean, this is the SNL premiere. Like, it's not, if he like puts on, like, there's been some former seasons where some cast members on their first show have said things they're not supposed to say before, and it's really derailed their SNL careers. This is like a high stakes moment for him. Haskell, I'm so fascinated by this decision. I know we're going to be talking about it all week, but like to put James in this role, he must have done something great for them to trust him so much.
Well, I think he was so good coming into SNL. Like if anybody's been following him for the last year or so with his Trump impression on Twitter, that he's incredibly seasoned. It reminds me of, when Chris Redd first came in, he was incredibly seasoned as well. And I feel like there were times where they just gave Chris Redd the ball and told him to run with it. So when he first came in, my brain knew who it was, but like at first I was like, that's gotta be Kyle Mooney. Like we're not going back to James Austin Johnson quickly, are we? And then like my brain still wouldn't like, and I've seen it in the comments too. Like it was like, no, that's got to be Daryl Hammond. And then even though I knew who it was, and then I was like finally accepted. I was like, no, they just gave him two good impressions to do early in the show.
And it's like every October 2nd for the rest of time, we're going to be like, this is James Austin Johnson Day, because he just like literally just took over the show. It was just so crazy for me. And I loved seeing it. And like, I see people in the chat, like here, our friend Justin's like, hey, some people are just made for this. We see he crushed it. Lauren must see something in this guy. And like, good on you, Lauren, for seeing something. Cause like, again, we previewed these three cast members. I didn't get to see it. And I'm so happy that I got to see it. Do you guys want to talk about school board meeting, which this was like something that I'll use the word that Haskell likes to use tonight, which is formulaic. This is something. Oh, what are you showing us? You unmute yourself.
Yeah, my 30 synonyms for formulaic that I didn't look up for you.
We can't see it on screen because you're late, but I just wanted to.
I'll use all of them. Don't worry.
Okay. This was formulaic in terms of what SNL tends to do. And I think we're all going to say the same thing, which is like, this is the weird person roll call that we've seen in a billion different scenarios. It's like, how do we get something that someone has worked on this summer? So why don't, instead of like evaluating it, because we all like know what we think about it, let's just go through and just say like, okay, was there one person that came out with something that really stood out for us? So anyone in the chat, just say like, which person in the roll call really stood out? Morgan, what did you think?
Cecily came out strong, and she really reminded me of her like Kathy Ann character, and that's what I was getting from her. So
yeah, that voice is like classic Cecily voice. Like it's just, you're going to get something like that. Anthony, in this weird person roll call we got for school board meeting, anybody stand out to you?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was that Bowen Yang that had the dreads that yelled out Barack Hussein Obama? That was my favorite, just because it was so unexpected, and it was the only Bowen Yang moment that we really got that night. No, that was just really, really funny, and it was unexpected and came out of nowhere. I enjoyed that part. That was cool.
Yeah, I see someone in the chat says, I always hope for Forte's Hamilton cameo in these. And that is where the Barack Hussein Obama on SNL started with Forte's Hamilton. So that was pretty crazy that ended up coming from Bowen. And then I think James Austin Johnson comes out again and then like doubles down on that. So like, there you go, James. Great job. Haskell, who stood out for you here?
With only like a couple lines, Dismukes is like, bitch, like line coming off is great. And I've seen a lot of people say like Dismukes could kind of fill that Beck role, especially playing off of Kyle, and we're starting to see that already. And then I thought Owen Wilson, the host, like this was the highlight for me of this like doing the wrong thing teacher who's like is not trying to be malicious, but it's just terrible what he's doing. That was a huge laugh for me as well.
Yeah. I was like okay, when are we going to see Sarah and Aristotle? Because we've seen a lot of JAJ, and now I want to know when we're going to get the other two. And we got them a little bit in this. I'm not going to say like this was exactly like the highlight of the roll call, but this was the most fascinating part for me, was like seeing these two in their first sketch. So I think I have to go back and reevaluate like, hey, what did they do in their first sketch, and take a look at it. And I know we're going to get some more Sarah later and a little bit of Aristotle as well. As for the chat, I see a lot of people who like the Dismukes, a lot of people like the Bowen as well. What I did really like was we were all trying to figure out like who was going to be the Beck to Kyle this season. And it turns out like I think we're going to get a lot of Andrew Dismukes and Kyle, which is what we talked about a lot in our preview show. Andrew Dismukes just slides right into those Beck roles. So that'll be interesting to see how those two work this season. We also then got to Weekend Update. And for me, it was really funny to get back. I mean, there was some really great stuff in Weekend Update. Anything stand out particular to you guys? I'll just throw it out there, and then chat, let us know what you liked in Update tonight. Anthony, start with you.
That was my favorite. One of my favorite things that I've seen Ego Nwodim do. Honestly, it was good. It was fresh. It was really smartly written. I loved the line, "I look like old dirty bastard's older dirty sister." Like it was a really, really good moment for her. And yeah, I really like that they gave her some shine there. I thought that was solid.
Ego is such a star, and I'm so happy that after her having such an incredible season 46, they put her like, front and center on Weekend Update for the first episode of the season. I really think this is just going to be an incredible all-time season for Ego, and we're going to have moments after moments through every episode. Morgan, what about you? Anything on Weekend Update that stood out for you?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Ego always like comes off as a pro, and like she's always like on point. And I did like Pete's cameo, and I like how he always just like comes on as himself. Like he's never like a character. He's just like Pete Davidson. And I liked how he was talking about his Met Gala look and how he was like a 3 blind mice. I don't know. That was a really funny line for me. But overall, it was good. And I think that Che and Colin were happy to be back, and we're really fluid.
Yeah, fluid. That's not an R. Kelly joke, I hope. So, Haskell, what did you like from Weekend Update?
Yeah, the line of the night might have been Ego's at the end saying, "You didn't even ask my name." Like, that was just a great little, like, you didn't even realize it, because you're so used to Weekend Update characters just being called this thing that we, this title. So for her to throw that in there was great. And Che and Jost, I mean, we're seeing why they're about to become 1 and 2 in terms of, longest serving Weekend Update anchors. It's just such a, they can do this in their sleep right now. And I do like that they're kind of leaning into this character that Che has created, whether that's him for real or whatever, but they're kind of leaning into this, like, Che can get himself into some trouble. And if they can keep kind of reinventing or adding to these two characters that they've created and play off of each other, then I think they could keep going.
Is it okay?
Look,
can I chime in behind that, please?
Of course. Yeah. That's what we're here for. Yeah.
Haskell, I'm a huge Michael Che fan. Like, I've seen him every time that he tours Chicago. I always go to the tour stops, like, huge fan. I was genuinely nervous this summer. I was like, oh, is he coming back? Like, he's been skating the line hard. So for them to, like, point out like his Instagram, like, he kind of goes there and says some like outlandish stuff every now and then, that was nice, because it also, like, reaffirmed like, all right, he's gonna stick around for a little bit. But yeah, I like that, like, like we got to kind of hit the, the summer that he's been having kind of popping off at the mouth on his Instagram account.
Well, I think the great thing about Che is, and like, you can, like, there's a lot of people who don't like Michael Che. There's people who have been on this podcast who don't like Michael Che. I'm totally, like, understand he is a very, like, you love him or you hate him type of person. But what I in particular like about Michael Che is that, like, there's just not many people on SNL that will say whatever they want and just be like, and totally own it. Like, he gets a lot of hate for the things that he says, and he doesn't care. And like, it's just so rare. And like, if you want to talk about like getting, like, I got chills tonight when I saw the Norm Macdonald stuff. And it's because it was, I don't know about some of you guys in the chat, but like, for me, I was watching SNL on my TV, and I know some people are starting to watch SNL on your computer. It's streaming on Peacock, but to see Norm Macdonald on like a bigger screen on my television, that gave me chills. Like just seeing him on there, it really felt like the nostalgia was there, and I just feel like there's just so much Norm. I know that Colin said that he really felt like he became a Weekend Update anchor because of Norm. I see a lot of obviously Seth in Colin, but in terms of Michael Che, there's a lot of Norm Macdonald in Michael Che, and I think that's like so wonderful that we get to see that. Haskell, anything else on Update you want to talk about?
Just really quickly, Jost has become the master of the transition. Like the laughs that he gets before he even gets to a joke, just playing off of Che. Specifically tonight, what brought that in my head was like, that's a hard joke to transition off of. So Christianity, he is just like so good at that, and they become such a well-oiled machine that in that transition, he might have become the best that's ever done it on SNL.
Yeah, for sure. I did like the I mean, I would like this, but I did like the Colin Jost joke where he was talking about the paint is so white. I'm its favorite part. So I thought that was a really good line from Colin. So post update, we get to funeral song, and this is all about Heidi Gardner's character who has passed away, and she wants a song at her funeral. It ends up being "I Believe I Can Fly," and people are like, "Whoa, this is an R. Kelly song," which was really an interesting choice by Saturday Night Live. I know that we know not everything is planned in the way that they specifically plan out the sketches in certain orders. Things get moved around for one reason or another. But I thought it was interesting that we had all the R. Kelly humor on Update, and then for us to go like right into a sketch about something like this, and the like meta nature about this sketch where you see the slideshow of Heidi with Kevin Spacey, Louis C.K., Donald Trump, all former hosts of Saturday Night Live. Like, it was just like, I know that they're being like tongue in cheek and they acknowledge their own history. I just think for the fans, it's really amusing when you see something like that. And some people really hate it and find it wrong, but I just find that stuff amusing because like, I feel like I'm in on the joke. Like, I know that they know what they're talking about when stuff like that. Morgan, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, I like how they like addressed it and they're like open about it and they're like okay with it. I thought that it was funny how like Keenan just like loves singing, and like I love when he like is just singing in a sketch. And then with the slideshow in the background with like Heidi like photoshopped and like all these images was just like funny, and obviously we like love when the audience is like, wait, like what? Like, let's not show that. It was just like an overall like funny one. I think they did good.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't know like who was gonna come up next. Like I was just really curious. I was like, okay, which host is gonna come up next to Heidi? Anthony, what do you think of this one?
I don't have another adjective for this one. I apologize. But like Haskell said, I enjoyed that it had a little bit of teeth to it, It's like we're gonna we're gonna punch down, like we're gonna show you some stuff that you're not expecting. And no, that was fun. It was super topical for it to be, something that happened that recent, and for it to have legs and be funny. Kudos to them for pulling that off. But similarly too, it's like, when you kind of go for the edgier joke and you're going for the little darker humor. Yeah, sometimes it pays off, and I think that it worked. For sure.
Haskell, what do you think of this?
I really liked the sketch. It was probably the one sketch of the night that left me wanting a little bit more. Like I felt like a lot of times on SNL, we've all admitted it, that sometimes they'll run a bit right into the ground and then it'll go on for an extra minute before a commercial. This was the one sketch where it ended. I said, I think you got a little bit more. I think, there was some more meta bits that we could have hit. Like I kind of thought, like, coming off of Weekend Update, like there was gonna be a picture of her with like Michael Che, and like, so I thought there was a little bit there, but I'm also okay with a sketch leap when I go, oh, there was a little bit more there, as opposed to beating it in the ground. But yeah, right up there, probably my favorite sketch of the night, if not number 2.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify my take on this because I don't know if I was super clear. Like, I just want to say, like, there's people online who complain about things like this, and it's like, oh, how could SNL possibly do something like this when they had these people as hosts on their show? And my point is that SNL knows exactly what they're doing when they do something like this. They know that they've had all these people as hosts on their show, and that's what makes it interesting. So like that's why we're talking about it, and that's why it's funny. So I guess that's my take on it, is like SNL knows, guys, like they know that these people were the hosts of their show. Yeah, and to answer some in the chat, I did really find it very funny, and it was kind of unexpected when Keenan started singing the remix to Ignition at the end. I thought that was a great double down on that. Then we get to the NFL on Fox and this promo for Crazy House, where we get to see a little bit of Sarah in this one as well. Morgan, I see you shaking your head a little bit. What do you think of this?
I liked it. Well, first off, we see James again, and he has like an amazing reporter voice. He's great at voices, as we see tonight. I thought the Crazy House bit was creative and like funny in the beginning when it kept like popping up. But I just thought it kept getting like a little repetitive, and you kind of knew it was coming again. But the overall like skit itself and James, I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, and Anthony, gotta say, another JAJ lead role in a sketch. I mean, this was just getting ridiculous at this point.
Like you said, I'm wondering like what happened in that audition room with Lauren. Like, what did he do? Like, how many more characters does he have? There's some more original stuff that I'm hoping that we get to see with him. Like, that was crazy. Like, for rookie coming in game one and knocking it out and demolishing this way, like, it was insane to watch. And again, really fun watching Owen Wilson just be Owen Wilson. Like, it was a really, really fun sketch. The sketch following this one is the one that I think really, like, you know, kind of did, like, you know, did it for me in terms of, like, you know, like landing the plane. But this was good. This one was also solid.
Okay, well, we're going to get right to that because I know there's a lot of people who want to talk about that last sketch of the night. So before we do, Haskell, thoughts on NFL on Fox?
I like it. I like that type of sketch, especially as it ramps up. Here's the only thing. We do this a couple times a year. We're going to wake up tomorrow. Someone's going to be, SNL took my idea, because the idea of NFL analysts have to talk about the shows that air on their network is not the most original of ideas, and I can already see it happening. The headline tomorrow, someone's going to have some sketch that they had on YouTube 4 years ago that's a similar premise, and we're going to have to deal with that. But that aside, these are the sketches I really like, where you have the straight man, you have the guy who's like really playing into it, and you just slowly ramping it up. And so I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I would say like one of the things that we have seen before for sure. And like one of the things I could just think of off the top of my head, again, we're doing this right after the show, so it's hard to do full research. But like I know that they once did a 30 Rock monologue where they had, you know, similar stuff where they had like something across the bottom of the screen and they like were making fun of something at the same time as the sketch. So I think that there is a lot to be played with here. I don't know if it like absolutely nailed it for me, but I feel like this was interesting. But really, it's this last sketch of the night that I know that a lot of people want to talk about. So chat, tell me what you guys thought about this one, because this was really interesting. We got to see you know, some of the younger players on the cast do some stuff in this one. And Anthony, tell us your thoughts on this final sketch of the night that we got to see, this mail-in testing service.
Man, so obviously, like, you know, like I think this week with Sarah Squirm getting announced, like, you know, people start looking back into her history if they aren't familiar, and they find out about, like, you know, her like previously not getting the opportunity for SNL and everything, and then, like, you know, it culminates with her having it. It's kind of like an all eyes on me moment, and it's really nice that it's like the last shot goes to you and you nailed it. Like, that was hilarious. Like, you're holding your own. This is really, really funny, good stuff. I really, really enjoyed that one, and I wasn't expecting it. Again, it felt sharp. It felt, you know, like really. I'm almost losing like the word for it, but it's just like everything about it just felt like, oh, like this is a nice, good way to, like, you know, land this. And again, like, we're tossing it over to a rookie, and yeah, hit it out of the park. It was what TARDIS16 is saying. It was so weird. It was perfect.
Yes, for sure. And Morgan, I've been waiting for weird. I love weird sketches to end the night. When you are delirious at 12:55 after watching an hour and a half of SNL, all you want is the Will Forte style weird sketch. And I feel like we might get a lot of those with Sarah this season.
I loved Sarah. Like, I thought that she was amazing, and I think that she's going to be a really good added player to this season. And it's her time to shine now. And like, she really proved that in her last sketch with Andrew. She, like Anthony said, she really like carried the weight there and really like added her spin on it in a way. And she was hilarious. And I'm really excited to like see what she's going to be doing in the next couple episodes because she's really talented.
Yeah, for sure. Haskell, give us your thoughts on this sketch, and then we'll talk just a little bit about Sarah. Or maybe it's both at the same time.
Turn it up to 11, go to 12. It was good easing her in. I'd love to see what standards and practices did with that sketch as you talk about things that you can do with someone's sample. I wonder if that sketch got a little cut down in terms of being graphic, because it was a little repetitive in terms of going right to that line of like what they were saying. But good easing her in. I don't think I'm as high on her after that sketch as some people, but I'm optimistic.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that is our premiere. I mean, I don't think I missed anything. I mean, we went through all these sketches. Like we said, maybe there was a couple pre-tapes that were there that we didn't get to see on air tonight, but I thought it was an interesting premiere. The way I like to do this for our hot take show as we kind of start to wrap things up for the night is I'm going to go around the panel. I want you to give me a number grade. Let's do that. Let's give me a number between 1 and 10, your overall thoughts on the show tonight. And then I just want one final headline / hot take. That's our hot take show. Tell me what you would say walking away from tonight that you feel about the show. So Haskell, give me your hot take about the show for episode 1 of season 47 and give me your number grade.
All right. Number grade. Let's go with a 7.5. Good. Trending in that B range. Not great. But my headline, my story coming out of this is there's more optimism to be warranted tonight than there was last night. Like I'm more excited for the season and the future of the show than I was yesterday.
Okay, well, people would kill me if I didn't ask you why, so you have to tell me why.
So I said this earlier too, is just I do feel like they're inviting new voices and giving new people an opportunity. It does not feel like, hey, can we just squeeze everything we can out of Cecily and 80 and get to season 50 and let Lauren retire? And if NBC wants to kind of soft reboot the show afterwards, they can. And if not, no worries, because Lauren got to live out his 50 years on the show. Now it feels like, no, there are people that are going to be here for 7, 8, 9 seasons and going to make a real impact on the show.
Okay, great. Morgan, give us I don't know if it's a number grade. Maybe it's a number rating. I don't know if you can grade numbers. Is that how it works? But Morgan, give us your 1 to 10 on the episode tonight and your hot take / headline as we finish on Saturday night of the first Saturday night of the season.
I would give it a solid 7. I like when it leaves me like on the floor laughing till my abs hurt. And I didn't really get that in this episode. And I was like looking forward to that because I love when that happens. But overall, yeah, solid 7, B range. Like everyone else kind of said, a lot of the chat saying that also. But my hot take, I guess, would be like, I like this new era and this new wave coming in with the new players. And I'm really excited to see like what they're going to do with that and how they're going to mix in the OG cast members also. So I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited for Kim K next week. That'll spice it up. I was gonna say, it's interesting how like they go with Owen, and then straight to Kim K. So that's gonna be an interesting dynamic to see. And I bet the shows are gonna be really different. But I'm excited for it.
Yes, this will be when we're talking next week, everybody in the chat, this will be a very, very different conversation about the Kim K episode. Not in a bad way necessarily. It's just going to be probably a different style show. So it'll be fun to talk about. Anthony, give us your rating from 1 to 10 and any hot takes you have for the night.
Sure. I'm going to give this one a 7. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think, we came in solid. We got a host that did the hosting duties. That was very much himself, felt very warm, felt very familiar. We got to see new cast members kind of coming in, doing their thing and getting some shine and not, losing like the opportunity. And then the returning cast members, a lot of the ones that we thought might have been on the fence coming back this season, coming back and showing we still got this. We're still good at it. We're still happy to be here. And the passion is still there. And because of that, I would say that, my headline would be, Lauren still got it. Cast is still interested. And these new cast members are hungry. And that's a really strong way to go into it, which is why I say a 7 isn't necessarily a bad thing. it means that we're starting off strong and we only have like, more things to go. But yeah, I want to see what these new guys got. I want to see like, new characters popping up. And yeah, I just want, a show that pushes it a little bit more, has a little bit more teeth, has like, a little bit more replay value, all of that stuff. And I think that all the pieces are there to make that happen.
Yeah, that's great. Honestly, for me, this was probably a 6, and I don't mean it like in a bad way. Like, I don't think this was a bad episode of SNL. I just think this was like a little bit above average. Like, if 5 is average, I think it's probably a 6. And I just think that, when SNL is on, it's really on, and you'll know when I think that an episode is going to be a 10 or is a 10. And I didn't feel like this was too close to that. I really feel like for SNL premieres, you can expect a 6 or 7. What's going to happen with Kim Kardashian and then later on Jason Sudeikis down the road? Like, those are the episodes that are really interesting to talk about because those could go in a crazy amount of different directions. So I do feel like this is what you would expect for a premiere. But as far as like hot takes are concerned or headlines, like, I'm just saying this James Austin Johnson thing is absolutely fascinating to me. I think it's just like we want to find out more. I'm actually more interested in seeing what happens with James Austin Johnson now down the road than I am about Aristotle and Sarah in a way, because it's like, hey, can this guy keep up the momentum? Is this going to be the storyline that we're going to watch throughout the season? Are we going to consistently get Biden cold opens from JAJ all season long? That will be really interesting to watch moving forward. So, moving forward on the SNL Network podcasts, I will bring up our schedule that we are going to have for this week of shows. I'd like to thank everyone in the audience on YouTube and on Twitter for watching our shows. We're going to be here every single Saturday night going through all of the hot takes from every episode. And then the difference between this show and the Monday show is we have a couple days. We get to go through all the numbers. We get to talk through what each sketch properly means. And we'll look at things from more of a macro perspective. So join us live on Monday evening with a few different other panelists to talk through this entire episode and talk about the choice to put Owen Wilson in the premiere hosting role, talk about these new cast members. We're going to get into more details over there. Later on in the week on the Thursday, we're going to have our patron feedback show. And for those who don't know about our patron program, we just launched that. And if you want to join us to become a patron, we have a really cool patron group going on Facebook right now with lots of patrons talking about the exclusive news that we get to post during the day. We posted our dress rundown schedule earlier. So if you wanted to get some, behind the scenes news about SNL before it airs, we have that going. And we also have a ton of benefits, including joining us on these patron feedback shows where we're going to answer questions from the community during the week about SNL. And those are really fun. So if you ever wanted to podcast about SNL, here's your opportunity. Join us on Patreon. And then we will be back next Saturday night to talk about Kim Kardashian West and Halsey, which I am very excited to see. I know there's a lot of Kim Kardashian fans in the chat. I'm just really hyped to see what we're going to get. And I'm looking forward to it. So I want to thank everybody in the chat for joining us. Andrew Haskell, where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Andrew E. Haskell. Any of our fans in New England got a lot of stand-up dates coming in the fall, and I'd love to see you guys there. And thank you for your continued support.
Yes, for sure. And Morgan, thank you so much for joining us on your first show. It was so much fun to get to hear from you. Where can people reach out to you?
You can just find me on Instagram, Morgan Killoren. That's it. Also on TikTok and Twitter also. Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah, I look forward to having you back. And then Anthony, so exciting to have you on the show. Where can people reach out to you?
I can be found at Air Conway on Instagram. Air as in AIR. I'm a huge sneakerhead, so that's where that comes from. But this was a blast. Thank you for having me on, John. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, it's so much fun to get to talk to you guys. I can't wait to do it more throughout the season. And please, if you're watching along, please give us a subscribe, whether it's on YouTube or on any of the podcatchers. It really helps people find the show. You can follow us at the SNL Network for a bunch of news, data, to get all of our shows. Never miss anything that we're doing. Follow us at the SNL Network on Twitter, Instagram. We are going to be on TikTok, Morgan, very soon. So that'll be a lot of fun to do that. as well. You can follow me at Jon Schneider 24 for any of my personal takes on any social platform. I love getting to talk to each and every one of you. So please feel free to reach out whenever. It is so much fun to get to do that. Also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. That's always appreciated as well. So for everybody who joined us tonight on our first Hot Take show, we have at least probably 19 more of these to go throughout the season. So that'll be a lot of fun to get to do this each and every Saturday with all of you. We will see you next week, everybody. Have a good one. Don't forget to join us on the roundtable Monday night.